Another doctor came back and said, I can see you looking at us. After telling you all this news, you are not moved. Let me remind you, you said this is your fourth child and your only girl. We're not talking about a male child, we're talking about a girl. Do you want to go home with a deformed baby? And then that was when it dawned on me that, oh, this is actually serious. I got married at the age of 19. But the plan was for me to go to school first before we start making babies. So, but while I was still trying to get into school, I had issues with passing maths, so I kept writing GC. So in the process of writing GC, I woke up one day and discovered I was pregnant. Even though while I was still trying to get my maths paper, I went to enroll in computer school. So I had finished and I started working somewhere. And I noticed I became pregnant. Okay, the way I see it on TV, how people get excited, that wasn't my case. But I had to go on with the plan. The first month or first few weeks, it was fine. I was going on doing my work and just doing house chores. Then by the second month, I just couldn't do anything. I felt, okay, maybe I had malaria. This is not how pregnancy or morning sickness is. This is way beyond what I see. Because prior to that, I stayed with my grandma in the village. So I see how pregnant women, go to stream, go to farm, carry heavy things, but I just couldn't do anything. I felt useless, and I became sad. Each time I wake up in the morning, I throw up. I went from being that active staff to someone who just come to work and just stare into the computer. I noticed I'll be talking to a client, and the next thing, I'll doze off and I'll wake up and say, I'm sorry, what was I saying? I went home one day, like the second month of the pregnancy, and I told my husband, I don't think this is normal because I'm always sick. I'll throw up. While I'm throwing up, I'll pee on myself. And we had a matured neighbor who said it's normal. There's nothing wrong with me, but I felt this is not normal. I can't do anything. I'm coming from a place where I see women, even though they are heavily pregnant, they do hard stuff. I can't even get up to sweep, so this is not normal. She encouraged me and said, this is normal. People are different. I wasn't comfortable with the parts that I had to pee on myself while throwing up, so I didn't know how to manage it while I work. At home, it's fine. I could, change, but at work, so it became a bit frustrating going to work. So one day I was leaving for work and I saw my landlady washing. And something in me just, let's say died, because I just felt, even washing, like I felt like she was doing so much. Washing is now a luxury now. I can't even wash. Then how is my life going to go from here? So I begged my husband to, please allow me stop work. And he said, no, that what will you be doing at home? At least when you go to work, it's some sort of form of exercise for you. And I told him I can't manage the vomiting and the pain on myself. And I just felt, even when I go to work, I struggle to, keep my eyes open. I struggle to talk because I have saliva in my mouth. I have to go spit out. I have to throw up. I kept begging him, and he said, no, you need the exercise. You can't be home. Only you. You will be bored. And what was going on in my mind was how is my life going to be like? Because I can't do anything. I can't do house chores. I can't wash. I can't sweep. I can't do anything. I just felt, why is my own different? Seeing women, I kept looking back home to where women heavily pregnant do hard stuff, and I just can't do the simple things of life. Then my landlady also kept advising that I should keep doing what I'm doing, that is the same everywhere. It's just that I don't get to see that part. And true to her words, after the first trimester, I was fine, and life, became normal, and I continued work. Then when it got to 6 months, I started antenatal. I was still, because I was young and slim, my tummy wasn't showing. Each time I go for antenatal at Chinyere house, the nurses would say, please get up, get up, get up, let the pregnant women sit. And I would say, I came for antenatal too. Like, oh, okay, sit. Even when I go in to see the doctor, he would look at me and say, yes, can I help you? This section is for pregnant women. And I'll say, I'm pregnant. I came for checkup. And it continued like that. Everything was normal until we had that bomb blast at Ikeja cantonment. And there was chaos everywhere. We all started running, and I kept falling while I didn't know where I was going, because I had that if there is war, we thought it was war coming, that churches and hospitals are not attacked. So because we were living in Nigeria at the time, so I was running towards the general hospital because I felt hospitals and churches are not attacked. So I heard, I don't know how true that is, but I kept running towards general hospital. I was running, everybody was looking for their loved ones, so nobody was actually paying attention to me. So I would fall, my husband traveled, I would fall, and the pregnancy was already 8 months at the time. I would fall, I would get up, I would fall. I kept doing that until I got to general hospital. And by the time I got there, I saw people wheeling out their sick ones with the drip and the bed. At that time, I didn't know what to do again, but I just saw some people, leaving, and I jumped into the car and I left. So after the whole thing, I went back for checkup a week after, and the doctor said, I said, when last did the baby kick? It then dawned on me that I haven't been checking, the baby hadn't kicked, nothing. So we're referred to go and do one other, I can't remember if it's CTG, but not normal scan. I should go check because 8 months is the critical time. I checked and we came back with the result, and they said everything was fine. I won't say I had a very complicating pregnancy, but aside from the first trimester, the delivery day came, and I thought as soon as I get to the hospital, the doctor would do what he needs to do and bring out the baby. I didn't know that's not the case. So we got there, and they said, what is wrong with you? Because everything they told me at the hospital during the antenatal, I kept to it. So they said, if you see so sign, I didn't see any water, but I saw I saw muco and a bit of blood. So I told them, this is what I saw. So they said, why are you here? I said, I'm in labor. They pushed me aside. I said, please, let's face those who are serious. So I sat on the bench and I was waiting. And by the time the pain came again, I started screaming, and somebody said to the nurse, she's actually in labor, because they were not paying attention to me. They felt I didn't know what I was saying, and they took me in. But they kept teasing me because the scan had told me dates. So I went to make my hair. I was ready. I even did my nails, and they said, it looks like you're planning to go for a party. I said, no, I plan to come here and have my baby. That the scan said is today. And they said, okay, first you have to take off your nails. You have to bite them off. You can't come and scratch us with those nails once the pain intensifies. So I felt, oh, the pain is not as bad as they made it seem. I heard other women screaming. I was wondering, why are they screaming like that? But when the pain started, I kept begging them to attend to me, that I'm in pain. And they checked me and said, you are like someone who is going to Kaduna and you are still in Lagos screaming at them to open the door that you've not even started. I kept screaming. I just said, please call the doctor. And they said, the doctor cannot help you. You just keep, just lay there and we'll keep checking you. So it got to a point I was tired, and because it happened early in the morning, and when the doctors came, I think they were coming from the theater, the way they were dressed. I'm used to seeing doctors in their white jackets, or what do you call that? But they were dressed in green. I think they went to operate on someone. I didn't know those were doctors. I thought they were cleaners too. And one of them came and said, so what is wrong with you? In my mind, I said, oh, there's nothing I won't see today. So a cleaner too want to ask me what is wrong with me. And when he moved away, when I didn't answer, I said, okay. So he moved away and somebody said, doctor, please, can you help us check her? I grabbed him. I said, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you are a doctor. Please help me bring it out. I'm in pain. I'm dying here. He looked at me, checked and said, nothing. It's not yet time. I was there for hours. Started around 6. By 10, 11, nothing. I was just still there. And they were all walking past me like it's normal. And I kept, because of the things they've taught us at antenatal class, they said if it's getting too long, they just opt for surgery. So I called my husband and said, please don't look at your money, don't look at your pocket, please. I think they should just, take her, let's go for surgery, let's opt for surgery. And the doctor said, who is telling you surgery? It's not yet time. We'll be the one to tell you if we're going for surgery or not. Just be calm. I said, I can't be calm. Please take out this baby. I'm dying. This is so much pain. And they just walked away, and I felt, these people are wicked. And they all just walked away and left me screaming. They will come check and said nothing. So it got to a point when the doctor came again, and I said, please, doctor, let's just take me to the theater. Wheel me to the theater. Let's take out this baby. He looked at me and picked one of my sanitary pads, the clean one, and shoved it in my mouth and said, just keep quiet and stop saying nonsense. Anyway, by the time it was 1 or 1:30, baby came out, and everybody, the nurses were happy. Like, this is a beautiful boy. The baby is so handsome. No, they were just using the word beautiful because I thought we were going to have a girl. So we had all the pink dresses and things. So like, you didn't bring anything for a baby boy. I said, this is what my husband bought. He wanted a baby girl. Anyway, the baby got dressed. So I still had this fear that somehow they might switch my baby. So immediately the baby came out, I got up, and they said, wait, we are still going to bring out the placenta. I said, oh, okay, that I want to check to know where they will put my baby. They said, don't worry, there's a tag. Don't worry, your baby is safe. So after all that drama, I got up and I was happy that, okay, all this has ended. I can go back to my normal life. And they called me back and said, where are you going? Why are you? This is what happens when a young girl when young girl gets pregnant. Calm down, sit down, you are not strong. I said, no, I'm fine. They said, no, there's still something we need to do. I had tears when they were bringing out the baby, so they caught me and they said, we still have to stitch you up. I said, okay, so I waited, and when it was time, because there were too many, it was on a Friday, too many women, it was like every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, there's a baby. So when it was my time to stitch, the doctor applied, used an injection to ease the pain. And it was fine until it got to a point where the whole thing weared out and I could feel the pain and I started screaming. And the doctors gathered and said, what is wrong with her? I thought she just gave birth. What is going on? And the man said, oh, he's just stitching. I said, why are you screaming like that? Didn't you give her the injection? He said he did. So why is she screaming? I said, he can't explain why I'm screaming. Anyway, I screamed through and I begged him. I said, please just leave it like that. Don't stitch it. Don't worry. I will manage it like that. I said, no, you cannot manage it like that. You can't. I said, please stop. I will manage it like that. Shebi is my own. I will manage. I won't have another baby. Just leave it. He said, no, I have to stitch you up because it's not safe. I said, don't worry. Shebi is my body. Anyway, he didn't pay any attention. He finished. And everybody around me was happy. But I thought maybe because I was tired from all the shouts and everything, when it was time to sleep at night, I couldn't sleep with the baby. There was no baby cot, too many babies, so they were short of beds. I couldn't sleep. I sat on the chair while the baby was on the bed. I just didn't know how to manage that bed space with the baby. Then the next morning, they came to check my temperature, BP, and the lady said, if you continue like this, we'll have to start treating you for high blood pressure. What happened to you? I said, nothing happened to me. Maybe you didn't get enough sleep. You have to sleep, otherwise we'll start treating you for blood pressure. And I thought I was breastfeeding the baby. The baby wasn't getting any milk. I thought I was doing the right thing, but it turned out I wasn't getting it right. And it became a bit frustrating. Then my landlady came, because she's like the mother figure I had around. She came, she helped me, position the baby well. After 3 days, we left the hospital, and I thought everything was fine. So I went back to doing those things. I was just eager to do those things I couldn't do. So I was happy that, okay, I can sweep, I can clean the house, I will, continue my life the way it was. And suddenly I realized that everybody around me were happy, but I'm not. At any slightest thing, I'll start crying. My husband left 3 or 4 days after because he had his business at Benin Republic. So he left, I was home alone. Then the landlady would come, check, bathe the baby. I had neighbors, but any slightest, you don't even need to provoke me. Maybe if I go outside and someone says, oh, you've put to bed, how is the baby? I'll start crying. So some thought maybe the baby died. I didn't know why I was crying. And my landlady would say, I'm showing you all this love. I'm helping you, and all you pay me with is tears. Am I doing anything wrong? I'll say, no, you didn't do anything wrong. My breasts were heavy, too much milk. The baby wasn't sucking well. He just sleeps. And I didn't know that because I wasn't sitting or settling down, I kept doing things, looking for something to do. It aided the lactation. So, and the baby wasn't sucking enough. So as I cry, the breast milk, everything, if I stand there, by the time I could change clothes like 4 times a day. So it became frustrating. I would wake up midnight and I just kept crying all through. I just couldn't explain why I had that tears. Then they called my husband and said, we don't know why she's always crying. We will help her with the baby, but she will just cry. You ask me questions, you cry. You give me food to eat, I will just cry. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what postnatal depression was at the time. And it continued like that. Then I think 3 months or 2 months after, it was time to baptize the baby. We were Catholics at the time. And while we were waiting for the Reverend Father to come, that feeling of sadness came over me again a week to that time. We were waiting for the Reverend Father where they were all getting set. And I sat outside the church. And the man walked by and said, oh, you have a lovely baby. He said, no, this baby is lovely. Where is the mother? Because I was always sad, so I wasn't looking well. Where is the mother of this child? I looked at him and said, I'm the mother. And he said, now wow, this baby is bigger than you. And I started crying again. Like, how, I can't explain why I was crying, but everything, even my brother-in-law that came, my mother-in-law, why are you crying now? You have a healthy child, everything is fine. Why are you always crying? Nobody could help me or tell me. They just kept saying, stop crying, stop crying. And the more you tell me to stop crying, the more I cried. So when my husband came back and he said, okay, I think I know what the problem is with you. You are bored at home. I will enroll you to school to go learn programming. That's news. I was happy that, okay, I was going to leave home at that time. So I felt, okay, I have my life back. So I started NIT, learning programming. While I was there, they said there's another course called Oracle Programming, Oracle Database. Just write an exam, apply for it, and if you do well, they give you a scholarship. I applied for that. They gave me the scholarship. So I was doing 2 courses at NIT at that time. Then by the time the baby was almost 6 months or 5 months, it was time for work for me to go take maths, because maths has always been the problem. So I went back, I wrote my work. I was just happy that everything is falling into place. So when the baby turned 7 months, we had moved from that house to another place. We moved from number 3 to number 4. I was talking to the landlady and she kept asking me, oh, how was school? How are you coping? You wrote WAEC, you're doing programming, you're doing Oracle. What kind of course is called Oracle? She kept teasing me. And I told her to please excuse me. And I went to spit out. And she said, hope you're not pregnant again. I said, no, I can't be pregnant. Now my baby is just 6 months, going on 7 months. I can't be pregnant. And I was told during the antenatal that another form of family planning is if you keep breastfeeding your baby very well. So I felt I was doing the right thing, that I'm good, I can't be pregnant. But as soon as she said that, I noticed I became sick again. I was the champion in class during the programming thing, the Java Plus, and I noticed that I wasn't paying attention anymore. And she came and she saw me again going home, and she called me again and said, I don't like the way you're looking. Go and do it. Go for a malaria test. I went for tests. They said I had malaria plus. I came back, I showed her the results, and they gave me drugs. She said, don't take this drug yet. Go tell them to do a pregnancy test for you. I told her I can't be pregnant. I'm breastfeeding my child. That's a form of family planning. She said, please, before you start treating yourself for malaria and typhoid, whatever it is they say you have, go for another pregnancy test. And I went, and the results came out positive. I started crying. I told the doctor, I said, the reason I'm crying is, one, I'm in school. I'm running 2 major courses, and again, which means if I'm pregnant, that means I have to stop breastfeeding this baby on my lap, and the only thing he takes is breast milk. He doesn't know how to eat other food. It's really frustrating feeding him. So the only thing he takes is breast milk. And for me, I felt it's just an easy thing. I will express milk. Expressing milk wasn't a problem for me. I could, breastfeed 10 children because I had so much milk. So if you tell me to stop breastfeeding this child now, I don't know what will happen. I can't cope. The doctor said you will be fine. Just keep breastfeeding him, maybe until when he's 10 months, then you can stop. So I went back home. I was sad. Then the bubbling life that was gradually coming back, all went off. Even my faculty then said, actually, you're not paying attention anymore. He will write some code and say, okay, can you debug this? I just wasn't paying attention. So I went back to my former landlady and told her that the doctor said I was pregnant again. And I begged her to take me to a hospital for a D&C. And she said, okay, come back tomorrow. Then tomorrow I said, I have class tomorrow. So okay, come back the day you don't have class. And any day I go, she would say, then with the GSM thing wasn't a popular thing at the time. It was early. I had my first son 2002. This was 2003, or same 2002. And she would say, okay, the natal line is not working. I tried to call the hospital. It's not working. Tomorrow I'll try. I'll book an appointment with the doctor. So she kept tossing me like that, until the pregnancy became 2 months. And then the baby was, I think, 8 months at the time. And she said, you have to stop breastfeeding this baby, because we have a thing in my place. They say, when you're breastfeeding a child and you're pregnant, you stop, because once that baby sucks something, the baby dies. And she said, you have to stop breastfeeding him. I said, no, I can't. If I stop, how will he eat? How will he feed? She said, don't worry, he will be fine. Stop breastfeeding him. I tried, but I just couldn't. This is the only thing he survives on. And as the baby, was 8, 9, the pregnancy too was advancing. So I was sick to the, early morning sickness, everything combined with school, combined with nursing a child, everything combined together became a bit overwhelming. And when I go to her place, because she's the only go-to person I had at the time, and she would say, stop breastfeeding this child. If she have any visitor, the visitor said, he's still a baby now. How old is he? I'll say, oh, he's 8 months. Keep breastfeeding. And she won't tell them why she's telling me she's advising I stop. She'll be like, okay. So when I go back 2 months, I say, auntie, this pregnancy is 2 months, so are we still going to see the doctor? She said, you know what, don't worry, Shebi and me, I will help you. I'll help you. Just stop breastfeeding this one. I'll help you. The doctor said he can't do it. I didn't know until later she told me she never called the doctor. That was just a trick to get me to keep the pregnancy. And then I didn't call my husband, because communication was a bit, wasn't easy as it is at the time, calling Benin Republic. Then when he came back, I told him that I'm pregnant again. He said, how do you get pregnant so easily? You haven't even gone to school. The plan is for you to go to school. So this is the second time I'm pregnant, and still, like you see on TV where people were excited that, oh, we are pregnant again. I didn't have that. That's the second time. And it continued. It was normal. The woman helped me. He stayed back, and we kept pushing like that. And the delivery for the second baby wasn't hard. It was quick. Everything went okay. That was during the delivery labor time, when they asked me to lay on the bed, the water broke. That was the first time I would see what they say, water broke. And I kept apologizing to the doctors and to the nurses. I'm sorry. I just spoils the whole thing. They said, no, it's normal. I said, oh, really? That I didn't experience this the first time, and it was just normal. Again, another baby boy, big one, handsome. Everybody around celebrated. In fact, the room where I was, this time I didn't use general hospital, I used a private hospital. And when people come to see their own loved ones, they will stop by my bed and talk about how big and handsome and everything, how this baby, before they go to check on their own, their own person. But deep down, I'll be like, what's the big deal? It's just a baby. There's nothing special. All babies are beautiful. And they discharged me, I went back, but this time, I will be inside again. I called my mom. My mom said she had gone back to school. I'm sorry, maybe I will join you by the 3rd week. So all that time, so it's like 2 babies at the same time, and the tears continued again. The tears continued again. Then she said, this particular woman, each time she sees me and says, oh, you put to bed again. How is the baby? I'll start crying. So at the time, she thought I was losing the babies because they were quick. And I'm always crying. So she was, oh, I'm so sorry, don't worry, God will help you, God will take care of you, and she will walk away. It continued like that for the first 3 months again, it stopped. Then one day my sister came in and said, oh, she came in with this Awake Jehovah's Witness book and said, oh, do you know about something called postnatal depression? And I said, no, I don't, what is it? And she told me and I read about it. I'm like, oh, no wonder. So this is why I cried. And I said to myself, when next I have another baby, I will not cry. Now that I know what it is, I won't cry anymore. So everything went back to normal. I went to school, I was taking exams, I was passing my exams, so everything fine. Then I became pregnant the 3rd time. This time, as soon as I got a proper, like the corporate word I was looking for, I was pregnant the 1st month. So by the time I was 9 months to the job, I was going on maternity leave again. But everything had fallen into place because I was giving so much. The executive director called me and said, because you worked hard, we would like you to, I won't ask you to go because normally the policy is, you're already 9 months to the job and you're going on maternity leave, we would ask you not to come back. But because you're good at what you do, we'll tell you, you will go, but we won't pay you maternity allowance and you'll come back. I said, fine. So I went home happy, and delivery day came. And when the baby came out this time, because I was prepared, I was going to be happy, no more postnatal depression. And it was a black baby. When the baby came out, I said, oh, okay, by the time they clean him up, I'm sure it's the death that comes with, by the time they clean him up. And by the time they cleaned him up, he was looking black, small, with rough skin. In fact, the depression started immediately. Like, how can I have a black baby? How could I? I couldn't breastfeed him. But I didn't know. I was telling myself I won't be depressed, but at the same time I was already depressed. But I kept telling myself, no, I won't be depressed. My sister came around and said, this baby is crying, carry him now. I'm like, oh, he's crying. You carry him now. You carry him. You say breastfeed. I said, you breastfeed him now. I said, what is wrong with you? Breastfeed your baby. Then the nurse, she will go call the nurses and say she's refusing to breastfeed her baby. And the nurses will come and say, what is wrong with you? I said, no, I'm fine. Nothing is wrong with me. And I will breastfeed him. I kept looking at the baby like, how did I end up with a black baby? How? And he's so small. And before then, I had neighbors who were already expecting that this one, you should have a baby girl. Some of them say, oh, I bought a comb, I bought ribbon, I bought this for your baby girl. And when they came, when I got home, hoping to get that same support and love I used to get, they will come with all that excitement and they will just stop and say, oh, they will pretend, and I could see it in their faces, and I was sad. And when my sister said, so what are you going to name this child now? I said I will name him Obiajunwa, which means the heart does not reject a child. And she said, you cannot do this. What is wrong with you? You can't name him this. I said, I don't know. I don't want this baby. Do you know anybody who wants a child? I just couldn't tell. I wasn't even talking to my husband. Even my husband at the time, he wanted baby girls, and by the 3rd time, it's a boy again. So he had given up on expecting baby girls. So I was looking at his face. I was looking at myself. I was like, what is this? Then my mother came. And when she came through, she didn't even help matters. She said, what is this? Because I'm light-skinned, my husband is light-skinned. How did you end up with a dark baby? And we laughed over it, but deep down, I was still sad. And, and she said, why are you sad? I said, Mommy, I don't know how I ended up with a black baby. She said, what are you saying? Your father is black now. did you for 1 minute forget you have a very dark father? I said, oh, okay, but I wasn't expecting to have a black baby. And on top of it, he would cry. He would just cry. Other ones won't cry. They will eat, and it was just a smooth one, but with this one, he would just cry. Even the neighbors started complaining that, now wow, this is your baby. He cries too much. Bring him, let me carry him. I will pass him over the fence because it was just this barbed wire fence. I will pass him over, they will pass him back. It kept going on. If my mother came one day said, is it that this baby doesn't like me? Why is your baby always crying? Because if these first two were always crying, like I don't think you end up with the third one, in quick succession. I said, Mommy, I don't know why. So she said, okay, take him to the hospital. I took him back, and the doctor said, this baby had jaundice or something, malaria, everything together, but because he's dark skin, they didn't notice on time. And we are lucky to still have him alive. In my mind, I said, just do what you need to do. So while I was still carrying him there, my husband came and said, what did the doctor say? I told him, and we're waiting for the doctor to treat him. Some people walked past us and said, they didn't know we understand Yoruba, and they said, ọmọ yìí dẹ̀ dúdú, bá rẹ̀ pupa, ìyá rẹ̀ pupa, ó dẹ̀ dúdú báyìí, ó dẹ̀ máa burú. They said, look at this baby. He has a light-skinned mom, a light-skinned dad, and he's so dark. And ó dẹ̀ máa burú means he will be stubborn, the way he looks. And they walked away. And I started crying again. My husband said, why are you crying? I said, no, nothing. I don't know. That's how I cry when I have babies. So you can't be crying every time. You have healthy children. People who cry are people who lose their child or they have deformed babies. You have healthy babies and you cry every time. Anyway, let's just see the doctor and go home, and you can, I don't know, he was just tired of, telling me sorry, because how can you be telling someone sorry who had no reason to cry? And by the time they finished treating him, gave us drugs, we went home. I told my mom started helping me administer the drugs, and so he stopped crying. And I started breastfeeding him well, because I wasn't breastfeeding him well at all. Like, I would carry him and I'll be, it's like, you can't be sucking on this breast, just like quickly do what you need to do. That was the attitude I was giving to the baby. And my sister would say, Chinyere, you don't do this, so don't let God punish you for giving you can't be doing this to this child. I said, look at him now. How did I end up? Look at him, look at his skin. What am I going to use for him? He said, you won't use anything, just pay attention and everything. By the time he was 4 months, he started changing. He had full hair, his skin became smoother. And my sister said, you see, you know what, this is my baby now. See, and I will make sure I tell him this story. By the time he starts making money, I will keep constantly remind him what you tried to do to him and the name you wanted to give him. So when I named him Ugochukwu, because my husband said, this is your baby, just name him. I named him Ugochukwu, and then a friend came and said, oh, what's your baby's name? I said, Ugochukwu. And she said, God forbid. She didn't know when she said that. She said, God forbid, because she said, you saw Michael, that's the second one. You did not name him Ugochukwu. Ugochukwu means God's glory. Is now this your pinching black thing that you named this? She just said her own, but everything, each time you say something like that, it just kills me inside. But by the time it was 4 months, it started changing, and people were like, this your baby is looking fine now, like that. And yes, everything, like I didn't have, mine was just more of postnatal depression. And everything was fine till 8 or 7 years after, when I became pregnant with my last child. And that was when I experienced all the, I don't even know how to, I don't know if I can call it spiritual, physical, everything that people talk about when they are pregnant. I experienced it on that pregnancy. Because for me, I felt okay, because it's 7 years after, I thought I was done having children, and I was pregnant again. I just got a job. I'm like, so I was angry inside, like, why am I always pregnant each time I get a job? But this time, I'm not even going to start pretending and working, and I'm going to resign. While my husband was still telling me, you have to stay, I resigned. The owner of the job said, and he said, no, you can still sleep if you sleep. Don't worry, my wife has been pregnant, has been there before. You can take time off, sleep. I said, no, I don't want to sleep. I just want to be home. I want to go through this morning sickness, not thinking of job, thinking of boss, thinking of reporting to anyone. I just want to be home. So he said, okay, if that's what you want, but you can come back after the first trimester. You'll be fine by then. I said, okay, just to get him off my back, and I resigned. So I went through that one. For that, I didn't even come out to my gate for 3 months. I was inside, did everything I needed to do. Even my children became worried because the first one at that time was already 10, the second one 9, then the one before that one 7. And they will wonder if this is how my life, the same way I was feeling then, is this how your life is going to be like? You don't comb your hair, your face, all this dark thing coming out from your face. Is this how you're going to look? I said, no, I'll be fine by the time I have this baby. So they were always around asking questions. By the time the first trimester, came and gone, it extended to the 5th month. Just wasn't coming out. I was indoor. Then 6 months, I would have dreams. It became a spiritual journey where I was going to churches. I was calling people to pray. Somebody would say, you have to pray harder because we don't see you surviving this one. I'm like, why won't you see me survive this one? It got to a point where they kept passing me from one pastor to the other. This one would say, go and see this pastor. I would see this pastor and say, you know what? There's another pastor that attends to such things. Go and see this pastor. I said, no. I told myself, no, you people can't be tossing me around. I know how to pray. And I stayed home and I was praying. Then the D-Day came. I thought I would go in, come out. The labor started very early, around 6. By 4 o'clock, we were still there. 5 o'clock, we were still there. All the nurses kept, changing shifts. I've been waiting for you to have this beautiful baby and nothing is happening. I'm going home. See you tomorrow. Another one will take, like that. By the time the baby came, it was already 6 and it was dark inside. Really dark. The generator won't work. The light went off. The 2 big gen the hospital had won't work. And the baby came out. Came out like dead. It was blue already. Doctors were nowhere to be found. And when the nurse wanted to cut the placenta, she had the scissors fixed on my clitoris, and I was screaming. And she was wondering why I was screaming. So my husband walked in and said, this place is so dark. And she said, they are working on generator. Generator won't start. The 2 gens won't start, nothing. And he said, okay, let me open the curtain so we can get a bit of light. And when my husband pulled that curtain, that was when the nurse saw that she had the scissors on my clitoris, because she was going to cut. And if she had cut me, I would have, bled to death. So she screamed and said, oh my God, Oga, thank you, thank you. I didn't know what was happening because the baby had come out. I was relieved. And she started shaking. She did all she needed to do. And when I wanted to get her, she said, no, madam, wait, I'll get the wheelchair. I'll wheel you to your room. I said, no, I'm fine. She said, no, madam, I almost killed you. Do you know I had the scissors on your clitoris? I almost cut. If your husband did not walk in, I would have cut and maybe you would have bled to death. I almost killed you. I am sorry. I am sorry. I said, no, I'm fine. Nothing is wrong with me. She said, no, madam, you won't understand. And by the time the baby came out and she did all that, that was when NEPA, I don't know if it was NEPA or generator, light was restored. And she put me to bed. When the baby girl finally came, my husband was happy, really, really, really happy. A day after, I went to pick up a file or something from the nurse, and I saw that they had rechargeable lamps, almost 10 on the wall. But during that episode in the labor room, nobody remembered that they had rechargeable lamp, because all we were doing was with my husband's phone. That was the torchlight. This is a big hospital, I won't mention their name. That was all my husband was using, the torchlight. So when I looked at that, I'm like, so you people have rechargeable lamp? They said, yes, we have. Why do you ask? I said, there was no light. They realized what I was, heading at, and they didn't say anything. So I let it go. And the next morning, the doctor called my attention and said, this is your baby's hand, the right hand and leg. There's no life, there's no movement. I said, no, everything is fine. He said, no. So he showed me, he started poking his pen on the baby's arm, and there was no response. He said, because suddenly, and he did it on the left, and immediately she moved her hand. And she said, we have to call in the consultant, you have to go for an x-ray. In the morning, they all came, gathered, they talked, they kept doing that thing, and they were asking me what happened during the pregnancy, and I told them everything, and they said, okay, no, that's not the cause. And I told them this is what happened during the labor room. No, suddenly nobody mentioned what happened, that there was no light, the baby came out blue, and they had to look for oxygen, because nobody mentioned that, okay, it could be the mistake of the nurse. They just kept skipping that part, and I will, bring the attention back to it. They say, no, that's not why. It's okay, take this baby for an x-ray. I took the baby for an x-ray, and the x-ray confirmed that there's no movement on the right hand and the right leg. And the pediatrician came and said, madam, you have to just take it like that. Haven't you seen, at least your baby is fine. Haven't you seen people with one arm and leg? That's what happened to them during birth. But would recommend a physiotherapist. She will tell you what to do, and let's take it from there. You'll be coming to hospital twice a week for therapy. At that time, I was just looking at them. Then another doctor came back and said, I can see you looking at us. After telling you all this news, you are not moved. Let me remind you, you said this is your 4th child and your only girl. We're not talking about a male child, we're talking about a girl. Do you want to go home with a deformed baby? And then that was when it dawned on me that, oh, this is actually serious. But unlike before, I didn't cry. Maybe I'd advanced in age. I was already in my 30s, unlike when I was in my 20s I didn't cry. When we go home, 3 days after the 4th day, I told my pastor, everybody was praying, and really she wasn't moving her arms and her legs. So the physiotherapy came before we were discharged and said we should use dusting powder, use brush, told us what to do, and we kept doing it. By the 5th day, I started crying, and the whole thing, dawned on me that, hey, so I'm going to end up with a deformed daughter, not even a deformed child, a daughter at that. And I started crying. My husband said, you've started again. I thought we are over this, your tears. Don't worry, everything will be fine. Even despite the news of one hand, one leg not working, while I was busy crying and thinking in my head, how do we, keep going for this hospital routine, he was busy with the brush, dusting powder, doing the therapy, tie the baby's arm. He was just busy. If they said do it 3 times a day, my husband would do it like 6 times a day. So he was really happy, very happy. He took charge of everything, washing. I wasn't doing anything. This time, I didn't exactly have the depression. I was happy, I was fat. I was going out with my friends. Like 2 weeks later, we're already out, and it was just father and daughter thing. And by the 6th day, I just couldn't take it anymore. And I'll wake up and I'll see my baby smiling and everything, and I look at her and say, so this is how you're going to end up, 1 leg, 1 arm. But before I had my daughter, I used to tell God that if people say, I want you to give us a girl, you just have fine boys, no girl. I said, no, I don't want a girl. Then one day I told God, I said, if you want to give me a girl, I don't want her to come and say she wants to be a doctor. I don't want a doctor, lawyer. The boys can be all that. But I want someone who will be a singer, who would dance, who the way I dance. I want someone to look at my daughter and say, oh, she reminds me of a particular woman in church. I'm sure this is her daughter. So I looked at her and said, so how is this one going to dance for you now? If she only have 1 leg and 1 arm and leg functioning, how is she going to dance? And I cried. On the 6th day, I wanted to call the pastor. Then we're already in church. We're no longer Catholics. And because we're Igbo, at the time I was having those boys, we don't do 7 days naming ceremony. But this one, the church, we already, we had planned for it. I wanted to call them and say, you know what? I'm an Igbo woman. I don't do 7 days. Please, let's leave this thing 3 months. I picked up the phone to call Pastor Debo, and the number didn't go through. All the arrangements was going. I'm like, what kind of naming ceremony people want to come and have for a deformed baby? And that night, it was during the Redeem Congress, and Daddy Joe was on TV, and I said, I might not hear what you're saying, but please, God, help me heal this girl. I told you I wanted someone who would dance for you. Please, just help me heal her. And I cried myself to sleep. The day of the naming ceremony, when I woke up, the first thing I saw my baby do was, the hand, and she moved the leg. I was happy. I know. So I tried it again, because then if you lift the hand up for her, you have to be the one to put it down. Even if she's crying, all she will be doing is move this one, and this one will remain stiff. I put it up, she put it down. I said, oh, we can have this. naming ceremony. And the day came, gone. Even though there's this episode she had last year that they were going to refer to what happened during her birth, had to do with the brain seizure, and I went for tests and they said, no, it's not that, it has nothing to do with that, your baby is fine. So I'm just glad that after all the tears, all the stress, all the near-death experience, I'm glad my children are fine, they are healthy. The boys are in university, and my little girl can dance. My fear when she had the arm and leg issue has been erased because she moves them, she can dance, she sings, her brain is functioning, because I later learned that could also affect her brain, but everything is fine, everything is perfect.